All right, everybody, welcome, and let's just say hello to Lisa Turbo, who's going to introduce this evening.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. I know kind of the tagline about how to finance your film maybe isn't the sexiest, but is definitely incredibly important. How to get your film financed and actually get to see your vision come to light is really one of the biggest things, right? It's what you're here for. It's getting what's in your mind out so that everybody else can see it and can enjoy it and can relate and you can communicate with others. It's really kind of why we're all here and what drives us. This evening we have some incredible guests to help share their expertise, share their knowledge so that you can make those next steps and actually get what's in your mind out to your audience. So our first guest is Ben Howard. Ben Howard is an incredible producer. He has quite a storied career. He was with Provident Films that brought some films you may have heard of, Fireproof and Courageous with the Kendrick brothers. He now has his own production company, Third Coast Films, which is really exciting because he is now partnering on the film that will be filming here on campus in January with the Boylan Sisters. Our two other guests, Alexandra on the far and Andrea. The Boylan Sisters have their production company, Mustard Seed Productions, that have created some films that you may be familiar with. You may have seen it streaming on Netflix and Hulu. You may have seen it in stores like Walmart. They have such a storied career taking their faith and identifying strong female protagonists, something that is not that prevalent in faith films, and really making films that appeal to both faith audiences as well as much wider audiences. And just like last night, our moderator is the new dean of the College of Fine Arts and Production, Dr. Craig Detweiler. Dr. Detweiler has quite a storied career as well. He comes from a few different institutions. He's a well-known author and speaker and screenwriter as well. And we're so thrilled in the College of Fine Arts to have him kind of leading us and ushering us into the next millennia.
Oh,
why not?
Oh. I'm already pretty gray. I don't know if I can do that.
I think you can do it. You have the energy. Let's
All
give
right.
them a big round of applause.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. And, I'm thrilled to be part of a university where there's already like 350 students majoring in film. Some of you want to be screenwriters. Some of you want to do directing, producing. Some of you want to lean towards post-production. Tonight, we're going to focus on how you actually get that project underway. Last night, it was about the idea, right? So round one, we were talking about how to write and sell your screenplay. Tonight, we're going to get into how to finance your project, and I think we're going to head into how to produce and distribute. Right? We're going to get to the money side of things, the business side of things, which if you want to keep and staying in the business, you've got to figure out. Is that a fair summary? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we're going to celebrate and finish the week on Friday night with a screening of Switched at the Sunrise Auditorium over in the church. Tell your friends. The popcorn will be free as well as the film. And we'll get all the backstory on the making of and behind the scenes. So the Boylan Sisters are here, and they're here because you guys are going to make a movie called Identity Crisis. And you're even right now in pre-production, is that right? What are you working on? What are you doing day to day?
Tell them what you did today.
Yeah, we spent the day scoping locations, and literally, like probably 20 minutes ago, I ran in here. So all day we have our script. We spent the morning actually going through the script and talking through some of the things.
Who were the we?
What?
Who were the we?
Oh, our director and our first assistant director and our DP, our cinematographer.
So this pre-production is happening now because shooting starts when?
January 6th.
That's pretty soon. So you guys are going to come back to school and they're going to come back making a movie all at the same time. Who wants to be involved? 3 of you. No, I'm kidding. That's like 100%. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
So
If you
talk
want to
to
be
them.
an extra, go to Michael Carey right there.
All right.
Take your info.
That's good. That's good. So I'm interested now, we have two different production companies, right? Ben, your company is called?
Third Coast.
Third Coast, and your company is called?
Well, we're rebranding to the Boylan Sisters, but we were Mustard Seed Entertainment
Mustard
for the
Seed
past
Entertainment.
10 years. Mustard Seed Entertainment.
So you see above the title, right? Third Coast Content and Mustard Seed Entertainment. Why are there two groups, two production entities coming together to make one film? Help us understand that.
Yeah, so a lot of times that happens in Hollywood. You'll see films that certainly you see multiple producers. Sometimes those producers may be part of the same company, sometimes not. But like in our example, these guys do what they do really well. They've been doing it on their own. You had an executive producer who came alongside and kind of handled the business things. They're artists. And what I've always done, what I say at Third Coast, is I help creative people do what they do. People God is gifted creatively, I help them do what they do. Because I can't do what they do. And so a lot of times producers will come together like this because our what we do respectively is complementary. So my responsibility is largely the business stuff. They don't let me come to the casting meetings. They do, but I have nothing to say. And then they handle the creative side. And there's certainly overlap and we work together on a lot of things, but that's generally how that comes about. It's really because what you each do complements.
Mm-hmm. And so the idea began with you, right? The creative impetus began with you. Why did you need another producer?
We wanted to partner with somebody who was a little bit bigger than what we were doing, so we can go to the next level in the industry. Because we do everything like we were talking about yesterday, scrappy, independent, ourselves. And it was just time to kind of partner with somebody else. So after we wrote Identity Crisis, we started taking it out to some studios and people. And I had met Erin Miller, his partner in Nashville. And I was like, oh, I'm going to send it to her. And she loved it. And she brought it to Ben. And then Ben loved it. And then we decided to have a joint venture and work together as a team and bring it to life. And I think, like he said, for us, we really love to be creative. That is where our strengths are. The finance side, the business side. It's a lot to bring a movie to life. So if you can partner with somebody who takes that off of your plate and you can just concentrate on the story and bringing the story to life, that is why we wanted to partner with somebody who took that heavy lifting off of our shoulders.
So as an example, Ben, you released a film earlier this year on Netflix. How many folks have seen Blue Miracle on Netflix? Are you familiar with this? Really beautiful, inspiring story.
You'll like it, I promise.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And it says on it a Netflix film, but it didn't start out as a Netflix film, right?
Yeah, made it completely independently. $7 million gross budget. Made it and then took it on the market, and Netflix ended up buying it in total.
So it says a Netflix film, but they didn't take the risk. You took the risk.
Yeah, they had a few changes they wanted us to make at the end, but pretty small. But yeah, at the end of the day, if they're going to pay it and you're going to take it, they're going to make all the changes they want. Yeah. We could choose not to.
Sure.
And you sold it exclusively, so only Netflix can show.
They own
right?
it. They own it.
Just Netflix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's based on a true story. Did you get the rights to that true story?
One of the producers did. Yep.
Different producer.
Yeah. Look, that movie had a producer who went and got the rights. True story of an orphanage down in Cabo San Lucas. They were about to lose their property because they owed a bunch of money on it. Somebody enters them into a blue marlin fishing tournament. I'll let you figure out if they might have won the prize or not that paid off the orphanage. But somebody literally went down and got the rights. He partnered with a couple of producers. They were trying to get it made. I happened to have a deal with a company that was looking to fund movies. They brought it to me. So that's how it happens a lot of times. So you literally had 4 producers. 2 had teamed up to make the movie with the guy that had the rights, and then I had to connect to the money, and that's how we came to be.
Mm-hmm. So there's all these kind of interesting, I don't want to call them arranged marriages, right?
Definitely a tangled web.
Yes. And that's what it takes, right? It takes this kind of interesting village of things. Now, there's a lot of terms that I think can be very confusing for people, right? So there's production companies. So Third Coast is a production company.
Yep.
Mustard Seed is a production company. And then there's this question of investors versus financiers, right? So how does that work?
Yep. So an investor is somebody who literally makes an investment. They don't know if they're getting their money back or not. There's a pretty big risk to it. And so typically when you go make your first movie, chances are somebody's going to invest in it. The different when you have a financier, you've gone out and Netflix has said, hey, if you make that movie, we'll pay you $8 million. So you're really just financing it. You're borrowing the money, knowing that you're going to get paid for it. A lot of times what a movie will do is they'll get foreign sales, commitments for those. A domestic US-based studio will give them a minimum guarantee is what that's called. They call it an MG. So they might have an MG for domestic distribution of $3 million, and they might have a foreign sales estimate of $2 million. They can go out and borrow close to $5 million, so hopefully their budget is about that. So that's what we call financing, as opposed to we might have a $5 million movie, and we just go out and find people that, hey, I want to help make that movie happen, and they're investors who then take the risk that we're going to be able to sell that movie.
Okay. So you mentioned foreign sales, and I think you all have talked about you have a sales agent, which might be different than a talent agent or a literary agent. So could we help students understand those differences? As an actor, talk to me about the talent agent side of things.
Yeah, well, talent, represents the actor, and they work, the talent agent works with the casting director to work. Those two people are in between the production company and the actor. So the casting director will go out and call the agent and say, I want to meet with this actor, and then they organize it, and then that actor gets sent to the production company to watch the audition. So a talent agency represents you kind of like a sales agent represents you, because the casting director or the production company doesn't maybe necessarily want to deal with the actor. They want that middle person to be like, we didn't like their hair color. I mean, they don't want, same with why you have a sales agent on a film, is because the distribution company doesn't want to tell you as the filmmaker, I hate your movie. They want to tell your sales agent that they didn't like the movie. They don't want to tell them. So that's what the agent is working on your behalf. They take a percentage of once you make money, then they take a percentage of it, but they shouldn't charge you ahead of time. So don't ever get in that. They only make money when you make money, and they send you out and get you auditions for things.
So there's talent rep who represents actors, literary rep, that's someone who represents writers, right? So you could have that kind of
You could have a literary agent that is taking your screenplay or your novel or what have you and representing you. And the same thing, they're the intermediary between the buyer and the author or the writer.
And part of that so that the creative person who's probably not gifted in those things doesn't have to be out front on it.
Yeah, you have to be the salesperson. Yeah.
And then the sales agent is going to represent the actual finished product. Is that a good way to understand the difference?
Yep. And so each of those agents is going to make a little bit of the money that gets passed.
Production company makes it, then you have a distribution company, and what are they going to do?
They're going to actually take it to where people are. They're going to put it in front of people. So they're going to put it in theaters. They're going to put it, used to be stores when we sold DVDs. They're going to get it put on Apple and Hulu, et cetera. They're going to be the ones that are going to make sure people can see it.
And that's different from an exhibitor. Who's an exhibitor?
That's chiefly for theatrical.
That's for the theaters.
The theaters, yes.
Okay, and that's different from a streamer, right?
Yep.
So is all that clear, or is that like really muddy? Is that helpful? Yeah.
You mentioned Apple as a distributor, but are they a streamer instead?
Is Apple a distributor or a streamer?
Yeah, they can be both in the sense of they're putting it in front of people. So I'd call that distribution, and they have a streaming platform as well.
That's fuzzy bound.
Yeah, they would fit both.
That's why it gets a little confusing and why we're taking some time here. So my friend made the film Minari, which was financed by Brad Pitt's company, Plan B. So that was the production company that gave the person with the idea $1 million to make the film. That's the production company, Brad Pitt's Plan B. Who's the distributor? That's A24. That's the company that released it. But A24 also has a deal, I believe, exclusively maybe with Apple and maybe a little bit with Hulu. And so then they're going to sell that or have another deal with a streamer, right? So it gets a little confusing, right? It's like, was that an Apple film? Is that a Brad Pitt film? Is it a Lee Isaac Chung film? And the answer is yes. It's sort of everybody is
I'll tell you a
part of
great
that.
thing at this juncture to talk about is the idea of windows. It used to be that you could be in theaters, studio take you to theaters. There had to be 90 days before you hit anything where people could see it at home entertainment. And if you as a distributor showed a movie in theaters, but then it was in front of consumers shorter than 90 days, they would zing you. They wouldn't take your next film or something like that. The pandemic has thrown all of that into disarray, where now you see movies that are streaming, same time they're in theaters. We're going to land on a new normal, I assume. That new normal looks like it might be closer to 45 days, so that window will have shrunk. And I by no means think that that's going to land there for a long time, but that seems to be where, because I think when the simultaneous release to streamers, you're going to see that go away. At least we hope it does, because our business, my business, certainly what I've historically done, movies in theaters. It's truly the way an independent filmmaker in the past could get in front of people. So we hope they have some window.
Yeah. So if I were going to, as students, if I were going to give you an exam, I might show you credits like this and ask you to kind of parse out the credits, right? So Paramount Pictures, who would they be in this equation? They're not the production company. Who are they? They're the distributor. Why is Skydance Productions on that same line? Probably because they put up the money. They may have put up as much money as Paramount. And so those two groups are sharing that top billing. Who's Bad Robot? J.J. Abrams, and is that a distributor? He's a production company, right? So that's the creative team that started the whole process. Does that start to make sense? Let's look at Interstellar, because there's about 87 of these here. So Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers, right? So who shared in that finance cost? Those two companies. They present it in association with Legendary Pictures. So what's that probably mean? Who else put up money? Legendary. In fact, Legendary might have put up 50%, and Paramount and Warner Brothers maybe only put up 25%. And then it says it's a syncope Linda Opes production.
That's hilarious.
That's a lot of nonsense, but who's syncope? That's the filmmaker Christopher Nolan's company that he runs with his wife, Emma Thomas, who is his producer. Who's Linda Opes and where does she figure in all of this? I don't know. But she may have owned the property. She may have had the rights to the original story or something like that it was originally based on. She may have put up the money originally to get him started on the project, but somewhere along the way, she got attached. Is that helpful or confusing? Both. Okay. That's good. Well, hopefully by the end of tonight, as we go through the Hollywood how-to, you'll have a better sense of kind of how all this works. So what I'd like to do now is talk to the Boylans a little bit about Mustard Seed Entertainment. And just talk to me about your company. I see you have a mission statement. Talk to me about that.
You wanna go, Andrea?
Sure. So actually, Alexandra was just sharing the story. When we made Catching Faith, we didn't have a production company. And when we were finished, someone said, "What's your production company?" And we actually came up with the name Mustard Seed because the entire project is based on having a little tiny bit of resources and watching God grow it, and a little bit of faith and seeing something big and beautiful come out of it. So that's where Mustard Seed Productions came from. And we are actually rebranding. So our company will be Boylan Sisters going forward. As we have continued to develop, it makes more sense. We're often called the Boylan Sisters. So it's like, let's just simplify this instead of explaining how the Mustard Seed name came about. So
Well, just think how many brothers there are in the Christian
Right.
world. There's
Yeah.
the Kendrick
The girls.
brothers and the Irwin brothers. There's the Cohen brothers, the Farrelly brothers. There are no sisters.
That's right.
The Boylan Sisters.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's really cool. That's cool.
Trying to give the brothers a run for their money. We have two brothers, so we literally have lived that out. So.
That's great. And so I think this is interesting too. You have this statement about with a little bit of faith, when I ask a mountain to move in Jesus' name, it'll move. Talk to me about what you've sort of seen in your journey as a production company. What have you learned about the business would you say?
About the
along way?
business or how much God steps in.
Well,
and,
that combination. Well, see, that's an interesting
and
combination.
God does miracles.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, we really stepped out in faith, making Catching Faith. We got the opportunity from the sales agent of my first thriller. He said, if you guys decide, if you would make a faith-based film and you make it about football, I'll get the money. So we were like, okay. And we had $75,000. That was it. I actually gave up my apartment in Los Angeles, and I moved in with my sister. And we started writing a football movie, but we wanted to star a woman. And just even starting to write it in her hometown in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, people started asking what we were doing and what did we need and how could we make the movie in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. And we were like, well, it's a football movie, so we need football stadiums. Yeah. I'm not sure how we're going to do that with $75,000. Yeah. And they started coming out and saying, we'll give you football stadiums. We'll give you jerseys if you would come shoot it here. And of course, we were looking for a tax incentive state, but they outweighed all of the in-kind. And so we all kind of stepped out in faith with very, very little money, but God just poured into us like miracle upon miracle that paved the way for us to like complete that movie. Mm-hmm. So
from start to finish, there's literally a picture of a rainbow over the stadium at the beginning and a rainbow over the last scene. Like, it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Yeah.
God was very there.
And I see Image Entertainment on here. So who are they? What's their relationship to the film?
Image Entertainment was our distribution company. So we had gotten a sales agent, I had a sales agent, and he actually brought this. And the fun story about how this movie got sold was that he had a meeting with Image Entertainment, now called RLJ Releasing. And he was in a meeting. They had bought our first thriller that we had made. And he said, hey, that team made a faith-based film. Do you want to take a look at it? And he was like, no, our faith-based is dwindling, it's done, but I know you're going to AFM, American Film Market's one of the largest markets where you sell films, and I'll give you a fake offer. And you can take that offer to market so that you'll get a bidding war. So this is what happens behind closed doors. And he offered a $250,000 fake offer and said, take that to AFM, I'll back it. If Lionsgate comes back, I'll back that we were going to give you this offer. And so at the end of the meeting, the sales agent said, okay, well, will you take a look at our poster because I just want you to see if you like it before I go to market. So actually the other poster, the one that has the girl on it, not this one, he showed it to the guy before he left, and the guy said, wait, that's your poster? Oh my gosh, I want that. I'll buy it right now, $250,000. I can put that in Walmart. I'll make a lot. That will sell. And then my sales agent was like, oh, well, okay, well, I'll take that offer. And now I'm going to go to American Film Market and I'm going to see if I can get it anywhere. And we literally sold that movie off of the poster. So we always talk about the importance of poster art. It is and also it's what goes out to Walmart onto streaming. It's what makes you click on something. So that's a fun story. And we sold it, a $75,000 movie, for $250,000 just for the U.S. rights here. That wasn't even all the people who bought it overseas in different distribution companies. So Image Entertainment is our U.S. distribution company. We have they only bought it for the U.S. and then he took it to market and sold it to other companies for other we have different companies for different markets. But sometimes they'll buy it for worldwide rights. Yeah. But our films always just go to territories individually.
And that American Film Market takes place in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica, California.
And it has all these people from around the world who might represent film in Germany or Spain or Japan.
Yep.
And they're all kind of looking, bidding, selling, and buying and selling.
Yep. Yeah.
I bet you're pretty good going. Did you have a booth or did you go booth?
I didn't. Well, my sales agent
They
went.
did all the work.
I didn't go.
Oh, you could have gotten more money out of it, I think.
I was like, let me take the meetings. Hang on here. But I went to you can go to the pool deck. I don't know anymore, but they used to let people just walk around the pool deck. And I'd go and talk and be like, my sales agent's up there selling my movie. It felt really cool. And now I think that they closed down the pool deck, which is too bad, because it was a great networking opportunity.
And we always have to have our trailers ready for that, but often you never get to the trailer. And that's why the poster is so important, because you want them to want to watch your trailer.
Yep.
So you're looking for these images even before it's sort of finished, before it's sold. You're basically already selling your film, I think. Is that a fair way to say it?
When?
I mean, you're selling it in a sense the whole time. Like, you have to have a sense of your own poster, your own marketing. If you don't understand how to sell
start selling it to investors.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
That's
right.
true. You put together a pitch deck that goes to investors through images for them to understand who your market is and what you're selling. Very true. And we make our posters way ahead of time. Our poster company right now is reading Identity Crisis, and they're creating the boards right now. And we're going to shoot shoot here at GCU all the layouts, and then they'll create it before we're even finished the movie. We'll have posters that'll go to market for Ben to take it out.
Nice. And so, Ben, are you, in a sense, the sales agent?
Yeah, we could have a sales agent. I think it just all depends. It's you let the creative process kind of happen, then you figure out what the right opportunity is, and a lot of it depends on who comes knocking or who you can reach out to. So we'll figure that out as we go. But that will be my job.
Very cool. So the film did well enough, right, that they wanted a sequel. Did they demand the sequel or ask for the sequel? How did? So they made money, and they were like, let's make more money.
Yeah, it went on to become the top 5 consistent sell-in movie for RLJ releasing, which is pretty amazing. And we had told our sales agent,
Yeah, that's
Ryan
true. That's
Keller,
true. Yeah, give them respect.
Yeah, $75,000
right.
movie. I think we hit a good market with the women. But actually, we had told our sales agent, Ryan, we'd love to make more Catching Phase. Maybe this could be a series. Maybe we could turn this into more movies. And he was like, you'll never make a sequel off a small straight-to-video on-demand movie. And fast forward a couple years later, he was at our American Film Market, and someone's like, RLJ's been looking for you. And he went and found them, and he's like, can you make us Catching Phase 2? It sells nonstop, constant. It's doing so good. So they came to us. But I guess you made a good point tonight, because I learned tonight about the difference between investors and financiers, because we've always only had investors, except RLJ Releasing said, we will buy the movie when it's finished, but we will not give you the money. So we still had to go out and raise our own money, but we had a long form contract from that they would buy it for a certain amount. And we actually raised exactly what they would buy it for, so that the investors would break even on the sale.
Mm-hmm. And the other, I think, tenacious step that we took was that the conversation started that they wanted a second, so we wrote it. Before there was anything signed, we were like, we want to be ready, so we have something. Mm-hmm. And then when he worked his magic, we actually had a product to sell.
Yeah.
Before the movie was made.
Investors,
right,
yeah.
and when we found investors, exactly.
We already had the script.
We had something that we could move.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a background in economics or business? No.
None.
They're like, yay, I don't either. Yeah. But you learn it. But somehow you learn it.
We're just making it up as we go.
But
Don't
you
tell
know what?
anybody. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, to that question though, like I think I did have some other experience in life before and had started actually 3 nonprofits, as well as starting my own company, and all of those skills. So we were talking about this last night. Every skill you have in life goes into what you're able to continue to grow and do. So, we did, like, how do you form an LLC? And some of those things we had done. Some of it we Googled, but yeah. We do not have a business or economics degree. He does.
I was about to say, but Ben does.
Partner does.
Right. So Ben, were you thinking, I'm going to school to learn how to, do great math, and I'll be a filmmaker someday? How does all that work?
Yeah, I have an accounting degree and an MBA. Accidentally ended up in the music business. And then VeggieTales, spent 7 years there.
VeggieTales.
Yes. Genius place.
Yes.
So I just kept learning parts of the film business and just kind of evolved there, because there is great value. I'm guessing most of y'all are creative. There is great value in the entertainment business for people who are less creative and can work the numbers. Yeah.
And so you might want to get to know those business majors, is what we're saying, right? Those accountants could become very helpful as long-term partners.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. All right, let's see. What else?
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that yesterday we talked about that a little bit, the difference between Alexandra and myself. I think I'm good making a strategy, and she can sell it in the elevator. And so we talked about finding those real strategic partners.
Yeah.
And if you know that you have a weakness, like, can I do numbers? Yes. Do I love it? Am I as detailed as we should be? No. So let's find somebody who is, and bring those key people together. And start with your friends. It's amazing. I bet you have very diverse friends with great skills, and bring them in. And you don't have to know everything yourself.
That's good. With that first project, I think you said you made it for $10,000. Where'd you get the money?
Well, so I had just made a little thriller with like 5 friends in a backyard, and just to show our parents and prove we could make something, I self-funded it. So literally, I mean, it was $10,000 from the beginning all the way to the end, and I was waiting tables, and I used to go to work, and every day drove over to my sound designer's office and handed him $100 every week until I had paid him off to sound design the movie. So it was and then finding some people who had skill sets who would come on and help for free and stuff. But we $10,000 all in to make it, and then I ended up. And then we couldn't believe it. We got a sales agent, and it sold at American Film Market off of the poster. There is something, I will say, it's great in all of filmmaking to understand marketing and a way of knowing who your audience is and how to catch people in an image. And we kind of talked about this yesterday. Even when we're writing a script, we can see what the poster would look like, what the trailer is, who the audience is. So we ended up selling that film, but I literally paid out of my pocket and had a lot of volunteers, like friends. I got my actor friends who were dying to be leads in a feature film who'd never gotten to do that. And we found friends who wanted to find friends that want to do different things than you. Someone who wants to hold the boom, somebody who wants to direct, somebody who wants to be a cinematographer. And we just all got together and really made a movie with like a camera and a boom. And it ended up doing really good.
Well, and it sounds like you need friends who might do design work too, who can create that poster concept and bring your one-liner to life.
And your person that's awesome on social media, find that person, because that's a huge to get the word out.
So luckily in our College of Fine Arts, we actually have almost all of those majors. So we're all here. We all just need to get a little bit better coordinated to do the kinds of things that you've been doing. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, and I think one of the best things about doing such a small indie was, Lisa and I were talking about this, just like, I wanted to know that we could take something from conception to completion before I took someone else's money. And that was such a great learning process that we knew the process of how to make a movie before you go out and get investing. Because what people always say to me, I just need money to make a movie. I'm like, but you've never made a movie, so you actually don't know if you can complete it. And I'm really glad that I learned that, so that when we had opportunity that someone was going to go out and get investors for our movie, I felt confident that I understood how to finish the movie, because that's really, really important.
And that's why I and the investors that we brought in are able to partner with you guys, because y'all know how to make a movie.
Right.
So, and make back the money.
Yes,
right?
That's the one thing. You guys had made the money back on everything they'd done to their investors, and man, investors love to hear that. All right, it's no guarantee, but we all talked and we thought there was ability to grow what they were doing, and that's really what we're trying to do.
Ben, you've been around some films that may have lost money for investors?
I can't remember any. I'm just kidding.
And that's a painful process?
It's very painful. It is. Having to tell somebody they're not getting their money back never makes anybody happy.
Yeah. But but then you see the Boylans, you see their track record, and you say they're good stewards of what they've been handed.
Yep, it's all about probabilities. So you do everything you can to help your chances, and working with people who are good at it should be the starting point.
That's good.
Hey, wait, I got a question. Is that you in the pink?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, that's her. Yes, that's her. Yes, that's her.
I play Desi in Catchy Face.
That's her.
She's a SAG actress.
She's multi-hyphenate.
Yes.
So here we come for Wish for Christmas, and now I'm seeing PureFlix as well as Universal. So what's the kind of the business, arrangement, or how did all that work?
So also, we made this film completely independently, raised our own private investment, and our sales agent, the same guy we've been working with for a long time, he took it out to market, and PureFlix made a really great offer on it and loved it. So PureFlix was under the Universal umbrella.
They had a deal with.
And had a deal with Universal. So it was very exciting for us to have the Universal logo at the opening of our movie. That was like, I was like running around the house like, I made it, I made it, I made it. And so PureFlix bought it for US distribution. And then the interesting thing too to know about distribution was when we signed with PureFlix, this was the time they were starting their streaming platform. So they said, we just want to let you know that if you sell your movie to us, it will never be anywhere else but at our streaming. So Catching Faith was sold to RLJ Releasing Image, and they put it out to different places like Walmart. They got us 2-year contract on Netflix, and then now they got us on Hulu, and they take you out to different places like iTunes and Amazon. So that was a decision we had to make, knowing that it would always land on Live Life at the PureFlix streaming. We would never go. Although they did just make us an AMC deal, so I guess they did step out of that. But we will never be like on Netflix. So it's just good, like those decisions you have to make. Are you okay with that? We were really excited to work with PureFlix, so we were stoked.
It was, I believe it was #1 on their
It was
streaming
number
platform.
1 on their streaming platform, so
We
it
like
did good
that.
for them and made us happy. So yeah.
And that's the kind of decision you had to make with Blue Miracle, right? Is that if you sell to Netflix, then it lives forever and only in that system,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, and an outright sale, there wasn't any more money coming to us either.
Right.
A lot of these deals, when a distributor takes you, they're going to, whatever they pay you up front, they're going to recoup that, then they're going to share the profits beyond that. And so when you make an outright sale, you probably see nothing after that.
So you have to just kind of say, well, this
Decide.
is it.
Yep.
I made money, and I won't see more money.
Yep.
So you hope it's a good deal. Because this movie's still selling in Walmart. We just got put in a box set with like 5 other PureFlix movies that went onto the shelves of Walmart last Christmas. So it still has life, and it still sells on Amazon and iTunes. So that's nice. That's the difference. But I think if Netflix offers you something that's worth it, go with Netflix.
We haven't talked about lawyers.
Yes.
What's the importance of contracts, lawyers, legal? Talk to me some about that.
It's just a way to get rid of some of your money.
Yeah, right?
No, I mean, we have to have lawyers, and hopefully you find a lawyer. Like we've got one. I've had one that I've worked with for a long time, and he's not overly expensive, and I think he's good. So we haven't had any trouble thus far. But yeah, it's really important that you have the right documentation, because what you don't want to do is make a movie, get right up to selling it, and they want to see your chain of title. Okay, so chain of title means you have the rights to tell this story. And those things are pretty technical. You know, where did it come from? And you know, if you wrote it yourself, and just those things are easily missed, and it could scuttle an entire sale. Because Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, they're not going to buy something that somebody could end up suing them over. And so, yeah, very important.
Yeah. So in that true life story, you had to have the rights
Yeah.
for those characters or that story locked up in a
In
strong
really good-
legal way,
yes.
a clean legal way.
Yep. That has scuttled more movies than you would know, is not having a clean chain of title.
Yeah. And that's tricky for you. You might be like, oh, I've just got this friend, you know, they're happy for me to do their story. And it's like, are they?
Yeah.
Or are they when the money shows
I was
up?
just
Or
gonna-
right,
yeah.
do those terms change, right? So you kind of need to figure out how partnerships and rights and distribution, all those things have to be aligned.
Something to put in your budget line is E&O insurance, errors and omissions insurance, because we made obviously a $10,000 movie for fun. And then when we sold it, our sales agent came back saying, okay, where's your E&O insurance? The distribution company needs it. I'm like, what? What's E&O insurance?
Ian who?
Don't know what it is. Ian. I was like, what? Ian? I don't know him. Yeah. So
What's it stand for?
then errors and omission insurance, you need it for the distribution company when you're selling it. So I didn't know that, and at the time I didn't have the money for it. My sales agent, being such a good guy, was like, I'll front the money and I'll take it out of the sale of the movie, because I was like, that could have ended the sale right there, because I didn't have the finances to actually get the E&O insurance. So if you put it in the budget, then you're good.
Question.
Right? Am I right about
Yep,
that? Because
yep.
that's...
Is there a minimum or a standard limit to E&O? That
Pretty
What are the
standard.
standards or limits
Yeah,
for E&O
distributors
insurance?
require that, and it's usually got like a,
$1 million?
yeah, it could be anywhere from $1 to $3 million, and it's going to cover you in case somebody comes back and says, hey, that was my story, they didn't have it legally, et cetera. So the E&O people are going to want to check out all your stuff like that.
How do you find your actors? How do you did y'all have auditions for your actors or?
Question about the casting process and how you find your actors.
Yeah, well, before when we started out, we were, indie, we couldn't hire casting directors, so we did all of our own casting. And when we were in Chippewa, we just kind of put the notice out on the Minneapolis Film Board, and we just found any way that we could get the word out that we were trying to look for actors. Then people submitted them. and we would go through all the submissions and then audition people. And we did that throughout our whole
Talk about how
film,
this one's working.
But this one, we're working with Lisa London and Catherine Strouder, our casting directors, who are amazing, and they're doing all the heavy lifting, and we're just going through and working. Did you want to audition for the movie?
Well, and so let's talk about that a little bit. So what the casting directors do, usually they're location-based, and Los Angeles is certainly the biggest place that casting agents are. We have a budget for the film, clearly. One of the biggest expenses of talent is actually travel and lodging. And so you decide who you're going to travel in. You decide what parts are going to be local. So we might say we're going to hire local. And what that means is we're not paying for a hotel. We're not giving you money for food other than we're going to feed you when you're on set. But those are kind of strategic decisions that you make. We'll have some talent who will live elsewhere, but they got a friend here. And so they'll say, hey, I'm going to work local, and they'll stay with a friend. So all of those decisions go in. Our casting directors primarily are helping us cast the travel in people, but they can help us here if we... and then we are working with some people from Phoenix who have helped connect us to local folks as well. And so there are some things that we've had auditions for. And there are... talk about as it relates to students in the movie. Who's the best person to talk about that?
Well, we both can. Yeah, we have, Michael's up there coordinating our extras, and I know that I could not tell you what the email address is, but you can submit yourself, and if you come up to us at the end, we'll give you the email address, and you can submit to be an extra.
And sometimes extras are just background. Mm-hmm. There are other cases where we've got classes and we show the characters in classes, things like that. We kind of need the same people. Right. So you kind of become an extra for the whole duration. That requires a little bit more of a,
commitment.
Yeah, commitment.
Yeah.
It's not really an audition, but is there an interview to get that?
I think we're going to look through, and because you will be kind of acting because you're in, like in the classroom scenes, any extras will be it'll be like featured extras. So an extra might be more in the background, but a feature extra will be on camera and your reactions are going to be seen.
So who can tell me what an extra should never do? Okay, that would be one. Talk. Look at the camera. Yeah. That was the one I was going for. Yep.
Never look at the camera. What camera?
Yeah.
The email is idcrisismovie@gmail.com.
Thank you.
The email is idcrisismovie@gmail.com. idcrisismovie@gmail.com.
And there are some lines that we're casting, so definitely get with Michael because he's going to send the tapes of the auditions to our casting director. So it's a great chance. They cast Disney shows. They're great, and then it's a chance for you guys to get in and our casting directors to see you. So
you might get a line like, "Hey, Trevor, it's time to go," something like that.
Yes.
So.
Man, I would love to say that. That'd be huge. I could do that. A question, yeah, in the back.
Are you guys casting supporting and leading roles for students or no?
Are we casting supporting and leading roles from amongst the campus?
Probably day players. We call it day players, people that only have to commit to one day, like smaller roles.
So I'll answer that as the business person, that we've got $1 million being invested into this movie. We hope to go sell it to a company. We have to have professionals in those roles. And so, and hopefully experienced and in some cases recognizable. Yes. That being said, one of our GCU and we have a great partnership, and one of our goals is to bring as many opportunities as possible. And that's where kind of the extras and some of those roles come from. Yeah. So fair question, but that's kind of why it is what it is.
What about like potential school rules and help, like PAs and all that?
Questions about PAs and production help.
Yes. Same email.
Same email.
And someone will follow up with you.
We have internships and such as that, so by all means.
There's a QR code that was here last night that you could scan and sign up for.
There's a QR code maybe
Brilliant.
out front at the desk maybe. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you asked my question. Okay.
All right.
I have a few more actually. What like business partnership do you guys have with GCU? Like what?
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah,
What's
so-
the business partnership with the
Great.
GCU?
In August, before August, you guys ended up here. The school asked you to come. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, we were invited. You can go because actually Andrea knows it better. You know the story better than me.
Well, we were invited. Your amazing President Mueller, really is invested in storytelling. And our brother, actually, Alex Boylan, did the college tour for GCU. I don't know if anyone's watched that or not.
It's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. And when he was here, he really got to know Dr. Rada and then President Mueller, and they were all talking about storytelling and all the different ways you can tell stories. And so my brother introduced us to Dr. Rada, saying, my sisters are movie makers, you should really talk to them. And so then Dr. Rada invited us to come and talk about what we do and what storytelling might look like here. And then from that, we got the opportunity to say, because we actually were actively working on, we had already written the script, we were already working with Ben and Third Coast Content, and really actually thought we had a different location. So we just kind of at the end of our time with President Mueller said, by the way, we wrote a college script. Now we think it's already going to be somewhere else, but we'll just kind of plant that seed in your head. And then he did this really fun thing with Dr. Rada where he went, write that down, and then we ended up being there's just a draw to GCU, and then fast forward to August.
I was in Kentucky with this group of people that kind of gather to support the arts, and I was talking about investing in entertainment, what to do, what not to do, and I ended up using this movie as a case study of here's what we're doing, here's the business of it, here's why it's a good investment. And when I got done, now Craig actually was there, and we had met before, but we didn't know each other well. He was part of that group. He kind of helped found that group. And
in fact, I invited you to speak.
You did, as a matter of fact. And he came over to me with kind of a funny look on his face and said, okay, so because I'd mentioned GCU was a possible place we might make the movie. And he said,
I'm talking to GCU now about potentially moving to GCU.
And as it turned out, we had been here a day, was it August or June? No, we had been here in July
I think, or August.
We came and visited, and we had 30 minutes with Dr. Rada in the middle of the day, and the rest of the day we were touring and seeing things. And he had been here the same day, showed me his schedule. He had Dr. Rada all day except those 30 minutes.
That we were with him.
It was really wild.
It was wild.
And that is kind of how this all came to be. Craig started working with us, helping us make it. So, biggest challenge of Arizona. Does anybody know why sometimes movies aren't made in Arizona? That's one. Okay, I'd say that number two. Something else, number one. Anybody know? No incentive. All right, there's no state incentive. You go to Georgia, you're going to spend $10 million on a movie, they're going to give you $3 million back.
Same thing in New Mexico.
Yeah, lots of states have that.
Yeah.
Arizona doesn't. And so we started putting our heads together with the team here, and Chad, who is in marketing, was a big piece of that. And we worked out a deal where we're able to use the campus and some of the things that the campus has, and in turn, a lot of times that costs you a good bit of money. We're partnering, offering opportunities for you guys, and so it really has worked into an incredible partnership. And in a lot of ways, now the movie we think will be a wonderful movie. It will also have GCU in it. GCU is the setting. We're not blanking out logos or anything like that. And it'll become a great calling card, I think, for GCU. So it really is a win-win partnership. So who asked that question? Yeah, so that's a great question. And so I've never been part of a partnership that was this energized and this effective in the film world. So we're really excited. We've got our whole team here, the director's here, director of photography. I think we've got 8 or 10 people here this week. We have a few people from Phoenix. We'll be here for a couple more weeks, and then we'll come back. I come in on January 2nd.
January 2nd.
Yep, and we'll start shooting on the 6th. And so this is really exciting. And so that's a good question just to share what kind of excitement has come from it. And Craig really helped pull it all together.
Yes.
Yes.
Craig.
Yay! No, it's going to be fun. Well, it's fun because it's right. It's a set that's also a classroom, right? At the same time, right? We're here learning tonight about the process, so you're already learning from them about the last films. Now you're going to actually get to see them actually make the film right in front of us for the entire month of January. That's pretty cool learning, right? And then some of you can actually work on it and in it and have credits that arise out of it.
Yes.
So you can even start to launch your career by saying, I worked on this film that Ben hopes is going to make a bunch of money so he can keep making more with the Boylan Sisters. So that's the finance piece and how that all ties together.
Yes.
Great question.
Good question.
It's a long answer. Other questions? Yes.
Sorry, this is for the students, but I still have questions. I think we're missing a step. You make this thriller, and then you get a sales agent. Somewhere, it's got to be seen somewhere. So what steps are we missing?
So if you make the film, how do you get it seen by someone like a sales agent or a distribution company?
That's true. I was thinking on that slide. Well, you can go to film festivals. That's a big place where you can show your movies, and sales agents and distribution companies are there, but usually only like the top tier, like Sundance. And I had submitted Home Sweet Home, our thriller, to like 20 festivals, and I didn't get into anything, and I really didn't know what to do. And the movie was sitting on a hard drive. And we started making a live action choose your own adventure app game. Because that's what you do when you don't sell a movie. You just go make something else. And literally, we were just kind of we didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And I was at a Women in Film event, and the poster company I work with happened to be there. We had each got to stand up and say what we did. And I was like, so I have this horror, then I don't know what to do with it, and no festivals picked me up. So what do I do? And these girls said, well, why are you going to film festivals with a thriller? They sell at the market. You just need a sales agent. And I was like, okay, how do I get a sales agent? I don't know. And she said, well, let us make you a poster because you need to present this. Even nowadays, if you have your poster on your IMDb, sales agents will be looking and finding you and coming to you. So and you also, sales agents are listed on IMDb, and so are distribution companies. But I think going back to a lawyer, don't sell your movie directly to a distribution company if you don't have a sales agent or a lawyer. But so I just started looking up on IMDb different sales agents and seeing what they repped, and I went to a couple film festivals in New Mexico because we had shot the movie, and I was just trying to ask people. I kind of just go down rabbit holes of what do I need, and then actually what was amazing was the poster company had put that on their website, and this sales agent hired them because they loved the poster so much, and they said, hey, you know that movie isn't repped by anybody, and they were like, that's a great poster, and the sales agent was like, I'll watch it. So he watched our movie, and he was like, I think there's business to be done here, and that's how we got our sales agent. But there's lots of ways, like IMDb or a film festival, calling people. I mean, just call them on the phone. Did that answer the in-between of getting a sales agent? That's how we got the sales agent.
As an example, though, I have a friend who just started something called Festive Media. So not festival, but festivemedia.com. And it's like a film festival, but it's just for sales agents. And so he's essentially taking short films, and he's told me, hey, you got some GCU students who got some stuff? Send them to me. I might let them in there for free since we're just starting the website and just getting the concept. And it's a way for you to, again, get your short film or your feature in front of sales agents online.
That's great.
Or in front of distributors online. It's very interesting. All right, question there.
This is for all our design students here. You have referenced a poster company.
Yeah.
So you didn't call it an ad agency, you didn't call it a marketing agency. Explain what that company is and how they work. And are they niche or do they do other things?
Tell us about this mysterious poster company that has helped you sell these
Literally,
films.
they've been with us since the very beginning and are the reason we have our career, really. They're called Dog and Pony Creative, and I do believe that Scott is so good, and he, we also have been building relationships. I made Home Sweet Home in 2011, and I am still working with some of the same people I started with, and I'm so glad I found them because one of the women worked at Paramount. She actually did some huge campaigns, and she didn't really want to work for the studio anymore, so her and her friend started Dog and Pony Creative independently. So they wanted to help independent filmmakers get their movies into festivals or into distribution and not work for the studio anymore. So we were getting like a studio poster for a price that literally I could afford. I mean, they had just started their company when I met them, so it was like a dream to get in with them at the ground level because nowadays I couldn't afford them with that budget. So they do I mean, they do a lot of other things. They're
do.
working on our new logo. They do a lot of things. I guess I always say poster company because I've worked with them
Right.
exclusively on
design.
every single poster that we've made for our film. And they're good because distribution companies have never changed our posters. They've always been spot on. And
The other
That's
thing
amazing.
is funny is that she still calls them posters.
I do. They're key art. No, key art. I know. They're key art. Right? Key art. Or
that's
what do
it.
you call them? Key art.
They're key art.
Still call them posters.
Key art.
I'm old.
I'm older.
But even so, you realize that Netflix, of course, changes those thumbnails or those
Yes.
posters
Yep.
depending on who they think
Yes.
you are.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it's more like
Yes.
you might have 5 different
Yeah.
images representing your film. So that market, in a sense, is expanding.
Yeah, when Blue Miracle opened, they told us what imagery they would use with which audiences, because they had articulated, we had a family movie, we had a fishing movie, it was a Hispanic movie, it was like they have all of these. And then they start to see which images drive response, and they'll get rid of some and they'll spread some out. It's really interesting. I mean, it's a science. And that's what I would say to design students is so often, same with filmmakers, they can be all about the art of the film and the art of the design. And those are real things. And if the art isn't good, then you're not going to move people. So the art has to be good. But there's also an audience. And if you don't make your movie with an audience in mind and your art for a movie with the audience in mind, then you may miss the mark. It's got to cause somebody to feel something. And if you don't think about that person that you're trying to make feel something, you may miss. And I think that's what this company has done so well, is they find out who the audience is and what's the story, and they match them up.
Well said. Well said. Yes, here. Yeah.
You mentioned IMDb. What was your process of getting your stuff
On
on
IMDb.
So talk about IMDb and how you've positioned yourself within that. Yeah.
Well, I guess I've been on IMDb for so long.
It doesn't
I'm
cost
kinda
anything.
old. Like,
Yeah.
it's free. It's free. IMDb is free. If you're an actor, you usually book something and then the production company puts your name, or even a PA or anything, they'll put you in. Like now we're building the page for Identity Crisis, so I put in all the people, and if you are first time, I will build you a page on IMDb. It's free. I really should teach classes on IMDb. I'm very good at
You
IMDb.
are very good at IMDb. You are very good at IMDb.
Mark that
yeah,
down.
so I can explain. And then there's something called IMDb Pro. It's a really good question. IMDb Pro is a paid thing, but that gives you the back end so you can look at who works at Netflix and who are the emails and the phone numbers of people. IMDb doesn't have those things that you have to pay to be on IMDb Pro, and then you can search to find email addresses and stuff.
That's
So-
for your research side. Yes.
You have to have like industry credits to be on IMDb.
Right, yeah.
Do you
Right,
have to have industry
a credit.
credits?
You
I
have
don't
to have a
think that you
credit.
do.
But well,
Yeah,
you
you
can
can't
start
build
with
your
your
own
own
page.
short films,
For an
Yeah.
actor, you can.
right? You
I
can
don't-
submit your own short films, and
Because
if
a
you get them
production
on
company can
IMDb,
set up.
you're building those
You
credits.
can only put your movie up if you already have production company credits.
Yeah, if your film gets
Yeah,
in a
it's
festival, it
pretty
gives it a
strict,
certain level of
actually.
credibility
Yeah,
that will
like,
allow
you can't
you
just
to
put up a movie
start to
on
build
your own.
your
A fake movie.
IMDb
They won't
profile
let you
here
do it.
and then there.
No,
Yeah.
I've tried. I'm just kidding.
I was wondering for like asking people to invest. Let's say it's a sales rep or something along those lines. Is it like, will you send a certain film to a certain region, and is that region based on political views, or is it more like demography? Like how do you look for, I guess, investors in region-wise?
Well, we'll let him.
How do you look for
Yeah.
investors?
Yeah.
Is it regionalized?
That's a great
How do you
question.
find
Great
people who
question.
want to invest?
You can
Yeah.
speak to the big end of it.
Yeah.
Let us speak to the indie end of it.
The little people
The
side.
small end of it
He's
is
the big people side.
we have, and I shared this yesterday, it's your relationships. It all comes down to relationships. And we have, from our very smaller budgets to how we've moved, we have made friends with people, told them what we were doing, asked people to invest. Sometimes people invested very small amounts, and then they had a great experience and they invested more. Then they introduced us to their friends that had more money and could invest a bigger amount of money. So that's how we have done it on the indie level.
That's
and it's
how
all
everybody
through
gets started.
relationships. Yes.
Friends and family is the way your first
Yep.
project will get funded. And the reason is because films are not good investments just as financial instruments. Like It's a great way to lose money. So people end up doing it because of passion, because it's something that they believe in. And the most likely thing for them to believe in is you, is you the filmmaker, because you've got a passion and they want to see it come to life and they invest in you. And so as you progress past that and past what your friends and their friends and your family can invest in, then it becomes about the passion people have about what your movie is going to be or what you're trying to do. So with this project, we've got 5 different investors. 2 of them are companies, 3 of them are people. The people are largely investing in this because they believe in what you're doing. They believe Christian mission is a great reason that people invest. Impact on culture. There's lots of ways you can phrase it. It might be that you're making a documentary about an issue that somebody really believes in. So there's lots of reasons, but you're going to find your money from people who believe in what you're doing for some reason, because it's you or because of what you're doing.
And then you need to be a really good steward with it.
Yes.
Because we've had a lot of people return to want to invest again because they were treated with respect, they were paid back, we were honest. If it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go, had honest conversations and upfront, and so it's keeping the relationship alive. It's not just asking for the money and using it and then stewarding it poorly and then never talking to the person again.
That would really mess up Thanksgiving dinner,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think one good example is like we made Catching Faith 2 in Louisville, Kentucky, and this woman saw it on a news board at the church, volunteered to come be an extra, had such a great day with us. Oh, no, actually, she put up a ton of the crew in her house, became part of our sort of film family. I think she put up like 7 crew guys in her house. And then she was also an extra. And then when we went back to the town to make Switch, she was like, you can use my house. We used her house for the Mean Girls house, Katie Sharp's house. And we used her Porsche. She was like, whatever you want, I love you guys. And so we were building a relationship. And then she said, what are you guys doing next? And they literally became our investors on the 3rd movie. And she started as an extra. So it really is about building relationships. And they really love what we were doing, believed in it, and they loved us. And that is like what he said, so real, and then they're also part of this movie too. So now we're doing 4 later with the same people.
And they trust us.
They trust us.
I mean, that is an extraordinary story because I got to go and meet her for the first time. She walked me through her house. She said, well, I have this many bedrooms, and it was one of those really funny stories. Like, I live in the Midwest. I have a very adequate, very humble home. This was what I would consider a mansion. And she's touring me through, and she's like, do you think this will be okay? And I'm like, yeah. But like, they all had their own bedroom. Yeah, I think we can do that. Well, I think we can put 7 in here. And should I make them breakfast? And we're like, well, that would be wonderful. We just were looking for some place for them to stay. And then they had such a great time, and they hosted, and they trusted us that when we went back to ask if we could use their house, they were on vacation. They told their neighbors we were going to be filming in their house, so don't arrest us or call the police. Seriously, though, because this was a very, very, very high-end neighborhood that we were in. And then they came home after we had been there for 3 days, moved all their furniture, filmed, but they trusted us. And then they trusted us with more. So they trusted us with their home. And I remember him very clearly saying when we asked to borrow the car, he said, I have insurance. If something bad happens, I have insurance. Now, when he invested his money, the insurance isn't the same. So it was an incremental increase in trust and stewardship, and they have had a blast.
Being part of the movies.
Yes.
Like when the movies came out and were so good, they were like, we love that. So it's so many different parts of it. It's being trustworthy, it's being good stewards of money, and then making a good product that they can be proud of and say, I want to be a part of what you're doing because I love what you're doing. That.
This is beautiful. Things. Seriously, that is a beautiful testimony. That's so biblical in action.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Ben, you said a little bit about documentaries and that kind of filmmaking. You're working on a documentary project right now. How's that work, and how do the numbers work on that, and how is that similar or different?
Typically they're less expensive than a narrative feature. Involves a lot less people. But raising the investment is just the same. We had to find people that believed in what Craig was doing and how he's impacting culture. And so that project, you'd think documentaries would go fast. You're interviewing people, et cetera, but it will have ended up taking more than a year. to make it when we're done. We're waiting on a final concert. And are y'all familiar with Lecrae and Reach Records? Some of you are. And there's a whole label, and they're all going to tour together, and it got postponed this fall, so we have to wait till next March before that finishes. But yeah.
And it'll be the same story when it's done. You're going to look for a distributor or figure out who wants to buy it.
Yep.
And platform it in a particular kind of way.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, we could go to theaters with it. Sometimes documentaries play for a night or two. Sometimes they can go for a longer run, but that would be possible. What you really hope is that one of the streamers or premium cable networks, HBO, Showtime, Apple, their music, you hope that somebody wants to buy it, you know, and they pay you a really good number.
Good. Good. Another example. Yes. Yes, sir, in the back.
How has the revenue structure changed with COVID? And just to carry off of that, what with the distribution deals that you guys are closing, how are they structured as the revenue matures over time? And the investors that put money into it, how do you keep them on the next project? Do you structure a deal where they get some type of dividend, or is that something that's just a open and shut deal?
So it's a question about COVID impact on the process, and then how you structure deals to potentially keep your investors kind of going and interested.
Can we talk about COVID? COVID just,
yeah.
like we got to test.
Yeah, we got to test.
We have to
We
keep
have to
people
wear
further
masks.
apart.
New, yeah.
They have zones, and so if you're somebody who gets into SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, they're by far the most restrictive in what they require. So if you're somebody who has contact with talent, close contact, then you're going to be tested more often. The crew is going to come in and do their work and get out of the way before the talent comes in. If you're further back, you're not close to the talent, you're not going to get tested as often. But it's profoundly changed things, particularly for big productions that have large groups, and that has raised costs probably somewhere 10 to 20% on things like what they're doing. For us, it's not going to be nearly that. We'll make sure everybody gets tested and keep as much distance as possible.
And it also does change the creative process, because we think it through now. Like we can't just set our lead talent in the middle of a big room of extras. I mean, I'm sure that there are some people that are doing that, but we are choosing not to, because we can't afford to be shut down.
Yeah, because if we lose our lead talent because they've got COVID, our set is shut down, and we've paid people for a certain amount of time. We can't finish our movie.
Yeah.
So it's one thing in terms of the restrictions that SAG may place. It's another of how do we make sure that doesn't happen to us.
Has the industry adjusted to that to provide insurance in case something like that happens?
How does the industry provide insurance in case of these COVID shutdowns, et cetera?
Yeah, insurance.
I don't know, but I know that with our movie we made in July of 2020, that there was no insurance would cover COVID if you were shut down for it. So you just had to shut down.
Yeah, COVID insurance is available now, but it's really expensive, and so most people will avoid that. Okay, let's talk about his investor question real quick.
Yeah.
Because we have different groups of investors in each film, they're really one and done. But so what you do is you do what these guys talked about. You maintain relationships, and you shoot straight with them, and you communicate with them. It's no different than if you were having people invest in real estate or anything else. They're trusting you. How do you maintain a trust relationship? What I would do, and I think these guys always have, if somebody's invested in a movie, the next one, they always get an opportunity to invest in the next one. Much easier to maintain, whether it's a customer or an investor, rather than having to go out and find new ones. So you do everything you can to keep them.
As an investor, would you expect to get a return on it?
As an investor, can you expect to get a return?
First money in is first money out. So an investor puts their money in, and they're the first ones to get paid back when there's a sale on the film. And then they own a percentage of the movie, and you can correct me because he knows so much more than me, and I'm just learning from what we've done. But yeah, and each of our films had different percentages that the investors own based on how much their risk was. So some people might own 40% on one movie and a 30% on that, depending on how high the investment was. But they get 100% return on their investment, and they get first. So the way it goes is when you make the sale, all the money goes into once you've sold, you got for us, pay back the investors 100%. Once that is done, then it goes into a split pool between what the investors get and the producers get, and it splits off from there. But first, the investors get all of their money back. Does that answer the question?
But 70% of films do not make money. All right, probably somewhere in the range of 40 to 50 lose money, and then some break even. But the answer to your question is, can you expect to get a return? Nah, not a resounding. But similar to stocks, you should never invest in just a single movie as an investment strategy. Now, you may do it as an impact strategy or a mission strategy, but if you're strictly looking at finances, then it's probably this isn't real estate.
Yeah. All right, we got time for maybe one more question? Yeah. Two more questions from the same person. That counts. Let's go.
What's the easiest way to make a film financially fail?
To make it fail?
What is the easiest way to make a film financially fail?
Or like the biggest mistakes made in the film industry in which can impact your
Yeah, I think it's when they're not aware of who the audience they're making it for and who's buying those movies. You go out and you make something that nobody wants, it's going to fail. That's strictly from a business standpoint, from a production standpoint. Don't do it well. What happened in New Mexico with the Rust movie seems to be a proliferation of a lot of things that went wrong. This is a tough business, and the best producers are those that they just run a really tight business. And if you don't, the risks are high. We don't have guns on our set, so we don't face that kind of risk. But I would just say that not minding production and doing it in an excellent way is a big risk and a good way to fail.
Yeah, and I've seen from other independent filmmakers, I've seen their pie, and it's like producers get like a half of the pie and the production gets the other half to make the movie. I feel like that's a great way to fail because you put all your money into someone's pocket and it didn't go on camera. So you're not putting out a quality product that the people are going to want to buy and then share. And I think that's the quickest way to fail, is to put all the money not in front of the camera. We put all of our money in front of what you're seeing. We don't sit there and stack people's pockets, which people do that in Hollywood a lot. Right? Would you agree? That's a big way to fail.
They do
Put
that.
it into the movie and make your movie the best quality you can. Yeah.
Have it on the screen.
Have
That's
it on
actually
the
one of the
screen.
reasons that I believe you were very attracted to GCU when you saw this campus that was kind of shiny and new, as opposed to sometimes we think of campuses as being kind of old and maybe European vibe. It was kind of like, oh, this feels very young.
And our audience is young and hip, so we knew that having a hip school was going to appeal to our young demographic that's going to go out and buy this movie. Yeah, totally.
Last question.
So speaking of producing, I was our student producer for one of our senior capstones. So we worked with a budget of about $1,800. Sorry,
Yeah.
This doesn't reach very well.
That's okay.
We're worth about $1,800. And so we're in our post-production phase. How would I, as a producer, go about potentially making this profitable / making the biggest impact for the rest of our crew as we go into our careers?
So for a senior project here at GCU that cost $1,800, how do we make the maximum impact, maybe even make money back? How do I produce this?
Well, first of all, before you answer, because you have the answer. You do.
I do.
What will the output be? What will you have?
An 18-minute short film that's like an 80s stylized, fake-ish based film.
Okay.
An 18-minute, 80s-ish
See, this is good. This
faith-based
is
film.
Stump the Band. I'm really curious, and Craig has to jump in on this too, because that's hard. How do you monetize a short? How many people here have ever paid to watch a short? Okay, so we got a few. So it's possible, all right? And so I think I'd start figuring out where people paying to see shorts. And he mentioned somebody a minute ago that has started a place for shorts to be seen. And so that's the first place I'd go because I heard it here tonight. What you might do is organize, like, off the top of my head, a benefit for something that's, a local charity or something like that, and make it known. Part of the money is going to go to recoup the cost of the film, and part of it's going to go to fund the charity.
We're paid off, so we're completely funded.
Okay.
At that
So you can't say it's going to.
About, like, creating good impact for our crew, as in like, okay, how do we make this film a little bit known /
Yeah, so I look to partner with some cause that the film may tie to, because now all of a sudden you got somebody else talking about your movie. You know, now they're going to start talking about it. That would be a great way to me. Is find partners who like what you've done, who will help you tell people about it, and if you can use it to their benefit, it's going to that will happen.
Because you're asking, like, where can you put it to get the most eyeballs on it? You know, like, put it online and. No, right. You just want people to see it. Yeah.
Something that our crew can say, hey, this was like something I worked on. Mainly like just like propelling ourselves in our careers going forward.
Right. Well, I mean, YouTube, right? I mean, YouTube is a great way, and if you could put it up there and everyone in the world can see it. Vimeo is somewhere if you want to be a little bit more on like a. But I'll give you my card so I can think about this. I do want to help you with that, and there's a couple things I'm thinking, but I need to like research it before I answer that question, because he's right. How many people pay for shorts? People always come to me with shorts being like, how do I sell it? And I'm like, I have no idea. That's hard. So I think if you want the eyeballs though, YouTube is an incredible way for everyone to get right. I mean, is there anything better than YouTube? Anyone out there? We put your trailer on YouTube. You want everybody to see it. I can't think of a better platform than YouTube to.
I will tell you, as an example, I had a student who was very funny and did comedic films with his friends on the weekends. And he heard that Wes Anderson was going to direct a Spider-Man film, which he thought was the dumbest idea ever. But he also thought it was very funny. And so he filmed it with his friends and turned that into a short that they posted online. And like in a weekend, they got 500,000 views and had 1 million a week later. And Jimmy Kimmel's people cold called them and just said, hey, do you want to come work for us and make short films? Because you're funny.
Amazing.
And he said, oh, I can't. I'm a junior. I was like, that's the wrong answer. Like, you should go. You should go. But the amazing thing is that Jimmy Kimmel's people were like, okay, we'll wait for you. And so a year later, he graduated and started working for them. And the first day on the job, he was writing a skit for Harrison Ford and Chewbacca having a beef on the Jimmy Kimmel show that he acted in.
That's great.
That was day one.
Wow.
Right? He didn't know anybody. This is a homeschooled kid from like rural Northern California. But he's just funny, and people will find funny or
great.
scary. Right? So start with a genre like funny or scary that punches people's buttons and just see where it leads. He's now writing Ant-Man 3. And he already got an Emmy last year for Rick and Morty. It's pretty good.
Very good.
I don't think he's 30
Awesome.
yet. It's all possible for you. I promise.
Yeah.
And maybe I should end on that. I don't know.
Two people from our
amazing.
production team are here. Just want to introduce.
Oh yes, two
Izzy.
folks from the production team.
Izzy is Andrea's daughter.
Here's Izzy right here. Say hey to Izzy.
And then
All right.
Ashley Chambliss behind her. And so if you have other questions after we're done here tonight, see these people too.
Yes.
Great. And we want to thank our partners on this, SEII, right, who deal with employment opportunities. The whole idea is to give you a better sense of the business and how these things work. And I feel like these panelists have really done that tonight. So please, let's give a big thank you to all three. To Ben, Andrea, Alexandra, thank you very much. Team Identity Crisis, we'll see you in January.
Thank you, Craig.
And we'll see you Friday night.
Yes.
Invite your friends, because it's a funny film. It's a great way to end a stressful week. And just, they'll talk about that whole production. You'll get the whole behind the scenes on how that one was made. Friday night, 6 o'clock at the church. All right, bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah.